Greetings, fellow Southern Cameroonians. This is Chairman Capo Daniel, and today is Saturday, the 4th day of January 2024. I want to present to you our daily brief, which is very important to keep our peaceful resistance in Ground Zero alive. For all Southern Cameroonians, all Anglophones at home and abroad, I bring you all greetings from me and the executive members of PRAP and our partners that are in the APJ, Alliance for Peace and Justice for Southern Cameroon. We are pushing our agenda in a fast track this 2025. We have not forgotten our engagement and commitment to address our people regarding the promises we made and also to address the presentation made by CDN. We are going to do that subsequently. It is weekend, so expect to hear from us. As you know, the resistance continues. So whatever we are waiting, we have to keep on carrying the spirit. I have chosen today to bring to you certain statements made by the Catholic Church leaders. And this is very important because the Catholic Church is the single largest religious organization with a huge influence over our people on both sides of the Mongo. It's very important because this year there will be election in Cameroon. There will be presidential election. The president of Cameroon, Paul Biya, have made his mandate being primarily based on the war of Ambazonia, keeping the Cameroon as one and united. And it's very critical for our people to understand this dynamic. This is the first time in his presidency where he has defended his leadership. For those who have been wondering, were the initiative to negotiate led by the Prime Minister without the President's concern, he has come out clearly to own it and to inform the people that it is done under his leadership. Some Ambazonian leaders who have been questioning, was these things being done by the Prime Minister? Is a couple of people sent by the Prime Minister? I think it should alleviate their concern that Paul Biya himself has stood up to claim leadership in negotiating an end to this conflict. While that said, he is supposed to be the leader anyway. It shouldn't come as a surprise, but it should reassure our people that we can engage with the Cameroon government to end this war in a negotiated settlement that will be fair for our people and will preserve our identity and what we ultimately are fighting for, and guarantee through referendum our right of self-determination. But we are in a conflict and we must be very, very smart. Cameroon wants election. Paul Biya wants election. Election is the only way his government claims an appearance of legitimacy and a mandate from his people. I will read the statement from certain Catholic bishops that have been very, very prominent in Cameroon politics and in the leadership of the Catholic Church. The Archbishop in Yaoundé, Jean Mbaga, this is what he said, I quote, "It's a jubilee year and soon it will be an election year. I urge the faithful to take their historic responsibility seriously." So the Archbishop in Yaoundé, this is the biggest church in Yaoundé, where Paul Biya worships, is telling the Cameroon people that it is a historic year and they should take their responsibility very, very seriously. The bishop in Yaogo is a very famous Catholic bishop, Bishop Yoda Haugo. "We can't suffer more than we already have. Even if the devil himself takes power in Cameroon, it might be better than this." So this is an archbishop telling the people of Cameroon that the Cameroon people have suffered too much. And even if it is Satan himself who take over Cameroon, things will be better. Remember that Paul Biya will be turning 92 years old when he will be running for election. He is currently the oldest sitting head of state in the world. and he is seeking for an eighth term in office. The Bishop of Ngaoundere, which is very prominent, Bishop Emmanuel Abo, this is what he said. How is it possible that despite cries of Cameroonians, it doesn't push the country's leader to end their suffering? Worse yet, they even forbid the people from expressing their pain. That is Bishop Emmanuel Abdul of Ngaoundere. These are prominent voices in Cameroon of the Catholic Church, speaking to power, speaking truth to their public about what is happening in Cameroon. We of the Ambazonians, that we speak for the interests of our people, we have told the Cameroon government and we are telling the public that election in Cameroon, which Paul Biya have made the validation of his mandate to keep the country united, can never be effective in the southern Cameroon. They cannot effectively seek mandates through election in our country when we are still in a conflict era. Despite their military dominance and military strength, our people will not vote in any significant manner, and elections will never be conducted without a political settlement of this crisis. If Cameroon wants to have elections, if Paul Biya wants to have elections in the southern Cameroon, in the Anglophone regions, he must not impose his solutions to our people. He has made certain concession to acknowledge a problem, yet he still speaks like somebody who have not acknowledged the problem. Why this is normal? Because in Nigeria, while the French government was negotiating, they were speaking tough. But we urge all Cameroonians to call their president and to make it clear that a negotiated settlement, an end to this crisis, must come before any effective mandate or elections can happen. It is very critical. He has made a peace offer. We have accepted and counter-offered that offer with a peace plan paper that calls for one country, two people, that guarantees and preserves the Southern Cameroon's identity and bilingualism that will make English dominant in the English region and French dominant in the French region. That is a fair approach to end this war. No solution can be imposed that is going to end this war. The Cameroonians must continue to raise their voice that a negotiated settlement be reached to end this war. The lies that the war have come to an end and that the resistance have stopped should come to an end as well. The reality on the ground is that the special status offered is cosmetic. It proposes a bilingualism that is worse than what started this crisis and do not put any substantial solution to the root causes of this crisis. The constitutional safeguards that our founding fathers put in the Fumban Constitution in Article 47 that guarantees protection of equality between both Anglophones and Francophones is a critical element in resolving this crisis that was initiated by the government neglect and dismissal of an Anglophone problem, which today he himself has admitted was a Cameroon agenda to assimilate the Anglophones into the system of the Francophones, which have failed. This failure must be approached with humility by all Cameroonians, and all people of good faith must insist that a negotiated settlement be reached to end this war. It is a war of shame. For the Ambazonian people and the Ambazonian leaderships, I will call upon them to leave aside their egos and focus on our people's plight and their suffering. Our people and our leaders, which we have engaged, have abandoned our international partners who are internationally accredited by the United Nations because of their egos. We have today break the glass ceiling and presented our case in the United Nations and establish active ongoing conversation with state partners, we are capable of explaining the plight of our people and defending the interests of our state to deny Paul Biya his claim to legitimacy through elections. We have that capacity to explain ourselves. We have engaged the United Nations and explained and exposed the lies of the regime that the war have come to an end and normalcy is returning by proposing a new way forward for one country, two people. We will continue to do that. We now have access to international partners to expose the lies behind presidential elections in Cameroon and the reality of our people who are not going to participate in this election until a favorable condition for peace, sustainable and just peace is attained through a negotiated settlement to end this war. If Paul Biya is sincere in his proposition, sincere in his leadership, and respects the Cameroon people's will to end their suffering, he will end stigmatizing the genuine Ambazonian voices that represent the interests of our people. He will stop the illegal imposition of the law of anti-terrorism to use to suppress the voice who are crying for the people of the Southern Cameroon, for their right of self-determination and their right as a people that his government have recognized through the acknowledgement of the special status. A new social contract and accept the devolution of power and authority as the only way to safeguard and to guarantee peace in Cameroon. This is the only way forward. We call on everybody to pursue this path. We do not want this peace plan to fade away and dries with time, because the days ahead might be very different. The days ahead might be very different. We have demonstrated the capacity to fight and defend our interests. And if we are forced to do so again, we will do so even with more effectiveness. So we continue to call on our people to rally behind our initiative and our leadership to push for an end of this war of shame, to stop the suffering of our people, and for the leadership in Cameroon and the head of state of Cameroon to listen to the voices of the people and the leadership of the Catholic Church that have expressed the pain that the Cameroonians are going through because of this war of shame. Both Francophones and Anglophones have one thing in common. This war should be put to an end in a fair manner that protects the rights of all Cameroonians and the rights of the people of the Southern Cameroons who are bearing the pain of this war. God bless you, and see you tonight, probably, for our presentation of our end of year assessment, as well as our presentation for the CDN presentation regarding the Canadian talks. God bless you all.